Okay, I'm putting the link to the agenda in the chat, and let me share my screen here. Yes. Okay, everyone should see my slides at this point.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Do we want to make sure we have a quorum?
Yes, that was my next.
We have 6, right? 1, 2, 3. No, wait, I think I counted Britta. We have 5, which is that's a quorum, right? Or do we have to have 6?
I think we have to have 6.
Ah,
Oh, wait, we have 6, don't we? Hold on. Let me count again. 4, 5, 6. We have 6.
okay.
We have a quorum.
Woohoo!
Oh, but who we don't have is our chair. I don't see Brandy on that list, which means, um,
That's me.
yes. Do you feel comfortable with doing
Yeah,
that, Trista? Okay.
yeah, I can hop in. Just if everybody can be patient with me. So um I guess I'm officially call the meeting to order. And I don't know, Courtney, do you want to rock through roll call, or do you feel so everybody, do we want everybody to say who they are and all of that, or since you checked who was here?
We can do quick roll call just for Winnie, because she is the secretary. So I'll
Oh,
just go down the
perfect.
list.
Yeah, yeah, that would be great. Um,
Me.
yeah.
Um, Krista, who is on the committee, Trista Smith, who is on the committee, Lauren Gray. Oh, Brandy's here. Brandy, who's on the committee, Britta, Inga, Jayanne, who's on the committee, Jess McAllister, Kristen, Lori, who's on the committee, Meg, Nick, who's on the committee, Sherry, Stephanie, Winnie, who's on the committee, and Jake.
So does Brandy want to step in then since
I can. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right. And if you are here as a guest, please just stick your name um, in the chat. Let us know where you're from, just for um, notes purposes. So, Brandy, we're ready to
Okay.
approve agenda.
All right. Has everyone had a chance to look at the agenda? And if no one has a problem with it, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda. This is Lori.
We have Lori with a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second. This is Trista with a T.
Trista seconds with a T. Trista with a T. Do we have all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have all in favor. And then we'll move on to the minutes from December. Did anyone have any corrections or questions about the minutes?
My name is spelled with 2 T's.
All right, we need to correct Britta's spelling.
Got it.
Other than Britta's spelling, anything else? If nothing else, do we have a motion to approve the minutes with the spelling correction of Britta's name?
So moved. This is Lori.
Lori moves to approve. Do I have a second?
This is Krista. I'll second.
Krista with a K will second that. Do all approve? All right, move on to the state library report.
All right. So kind of first on the list is our membership migration and recruitment. We have a lot going on right now. So I guess we'll just kind of go over everything. Ohio County Public Library is going to be our first migration of the year. Their go live date is going to be June 10th. The Evergreen Indiana admin team is currently working with them with their data to get that. We're actually right on schedule to get that going for June. And they are very excited to join Evergreen. So it's been a really great experience for us. Next up, our next migration will be Brooke, Washington Iroquois Public Library. Their go live date is going to be the end of August, I believe. So they're going to be, sorry, that's just to me. They're going to be the second migration of the year. We still have Jasonville rebar coding their collection. They should be our third migration of the year. I do have to get with her. I sent her an email last week to make sure they are on track for that because they had to re-sign with their current ILS and they have, I believe, until November. And we also like to have kind of an overlap with ILSs. So they should be next on the list. And then the fourth library that has already been approved is Edinburgh. They are going to be cataloging in. Britta is going to do training with them next week, I believe.
Yeah, next Friday.
March is happening. And then she's going to be teaching them copy cataloging, and then they will start working on their collection, and we'll send out notices of cataloging parties as well. But they still want to do a data migration for their patrons if that can be done. So we're going to work with that kind of side of the data once they have more of their items cataloged in. And then we have 4 applications in. So we did do an electronic vote. Technically, that's still open, so we can vote today and I can move forward with those. But we have applications from Delphi, Crawfordsville, Remington, and Jasper County. Delphi more than likely will be our last migration of this year. Remington will also have to catalog in, but they would like to enter their patrons in themselves as well. So they won't have any data migration. So their timeline is really whenever they get their stuff done. Their goal is to be done by the end of this year. It just depends on how fast they work. And then Crawfordsville and Jasper County and Edinburgh will be next year. So we're looking at like late 2026, early 2027 for any new library that turns in their application. I've been very upfront with people as they schedule info sessions with me about where we are in the line there. We have had info sessions with Wells County and Middlebury. The director at Oakland City reached out. We're going to talk some more, I think, in a couple of weeks. And then we did get kind of a long list of questions from Jeffersonville Township, and they have contacted me kind of repeatedly with different questions. It looks like they're probably going to move forward. I know they visited with Jefferson County in Madison and asked a lot of questions there as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw an application from them as well. So that is kind of where we're at with membership and migration. Is there any questions about that? Okay. Just a reminder that the annual council meeting is coming up on April 9th at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central. The committee nominations are going to be accepted then or approved then by the council. We are accepting nominations now. We're looking for 3 seats for EC, so 2 Class B and 1 Class C. We're looking for 5 seats for patron services, so 3 Class A and 2 Class B. And for cataloging, we're looking for Class A and Class C participation as well as e-content. Cataloging and e-content are a little different. They don't have in terms, they can stay on as long as they would like. So it is a little bit different. But we are looking for A and C. So if you know of anyone or yourself would like to join a committee, please put in a nomination form. I think they're open until March 31st. Another reminder, the Evergreen Indiana Conference is August 15th. It will be at the State Library this year. We're going to hold some sessions hybrid. We just got some new AV equipment at the State Library that will make it easier for us to do that. Not everything will be able to be hybrid, but we'll try to do a few sessions at least. The call for proposals closed at the end of February. If you're still interested in putting in a proposal, I mean, they're closed-ish. We could always take more applications. We have 8, I believe, 8 proposals, which I'm excited about. And then I do plan on asking, kind of seeing where we have holes and reaching out to people in the community to fill in for that. My goal was 9 to 12, so we could have concurrent sessions, and I think that we'll be fine hitting those numbers. August is also a conference month or a committee month. So I am toying with the idea of having the committees have their meetings at the conference that month, just to make it a little bit easier. If you have any input about that, I would like to hear that. Let's see. Okay, as far as vendor updates, the e-content committee voted to not renew our service with Reference Solutions. I am going to let Krista talk about that next steps there once we get to committee updates. But I have contacted our Data Axle Reference Solutions rep to let them know we won't be renewing. Just as a reminder, that was $55,000 a year. I had been keeping track of those statistics, and the statistics were just too low to be paying that price. So that's where that thought came from. And then the Aspen subcommittee did meet for the first time on February 20th. I think a lot of ground was made at that meeting. Britta will be giving an update during the committee updates. But it will be a permanent subcommittee of the executive committee. As far as special reports go, we haven't made any changes here. We have 72 fine-free libraries and 91 auto-renewal libraries. As far as the fiscal report goes, we'll make sure everybody can see. Yes. We're at about 18% of expended to date. No huge expenses with the exception, I guess, of Library IQ. We did renew that. Other than that, it's pretty basic. Nothing that you wouldn't expect. This pass-through account is our Wowberry, and I'm working on invoices for those to send out to libraries, so we'll get that reimbursed back to us. Does anybody have any questions about financials?
I did just want to say, and I'm sure you are probably getting a lot of this already, Courtney, but I have had a couple of directors reach out to me already about expected LSTA grant money, and all of that. So I don't know. I think I emailed you maybe, and you said that you guys had a budget that would like not that would account for that impact. Or I mean, I guess it's like we don't know anything, so it's. But I'm on the board of MCLS too, and they deal with the same kind of thing because they do the Info Express for Michigan. Like I don't know if you have any guidance on what we should say if people are asking us that.
I think Jake is on here. So I sorry to call you out, Jake. I think as far as we know is nothing right now. But yes, Trista did talk to me about if if that happened and what we would do. And I did let Trista know I do have a kind of an SOS emergency budget if we need one, where we kind of drop a lot of the extra resource sharing. Um, so we could pay for staff if we needed to, or whatever it is. So I do have that budget ready to go in case that is the news that comes down the line. But I think as far as what's actually happening, I don't think there's a lot of information. Jake, did you have anything to add to that? I'm sorry.
Jake, you're muted.
We can come back if we need to, Jake, while we get that figured out. Sorry. Was there any other questions about financials? Okay. Okay, I'm going to just move ahead for a minute here and let Britta talk about the training report, and then we can see if Jake is ready for us.
I have held several webinars, primarily circulation and administration. The past couple months, decent turnout for those. I've held Aspen administration a couple times. The first one was really well attended. The second one was a replacement because I forgot to record the first one. But they were both good questions and decent attendance. We also started roundtables in January. I plan to hold those every third, at least once a quarter. So if anyone has topics they'd wish to discuss at one of the cataloging or circulation roundtables, there is a submission form available to do so. Courtney has already covered the migration information. I've been assisting with mapping the data from Follett to Evergreen to a Jeremy and Kristen on that. And then, like Courtney said, next Friday, the 14th, we will be going to Edinburgh to teach them basic cataloging so they can get copy cataloging straight into the production server. And then once they get going, I will start scheduling cataloging parties for them. As always, I am working on updating the cataloging courses on the Indiana Learn website, documentation in our knowledge base. I am also working on some documentation to aid us in next year's annual report, just to make it a little easier to figure out what is going on and what goes where, as long as it doesn't change too much. You never know. In regards to Aspen, I have assisted a few libraries with updating some of their side loads like Canopy, and working one-to-one with libraries regarding like browse categories and other functions. As for the annual refreshers, I feel like this year's, I don't want to say turnout, but turnout for those who took the webinars before March 1st was really high. I was really appreciative of that. There were only 42 accounts that were adjusted Friday evening. And that will include accounts for staff members that have actually left and may not have, the accounts just may not have been deactivated. Just a couple one-to-one assistance with like emails, like patron search filters, and then I am hoping to get up to date on sending out LE certificates for the last few webinars that I have held. And that is all I have for my report, if unless anyone has any questions.
Thanks, Britta. Jake, did you want to hop on here? Oh, I see you're in the chat.
No, I mean, I think it's pretty much it. I mean, we're watching like everyone else. We don't have any other insight. I appreciate Courtney you developing backup plans for this. And, if once we have more information, we'll jump into action and implement what we need to do.
Thank you. Is Monica here? You did tell me she was gonna come.
I don't see her, but I did bring up the minutes, so I can sort of report on what the cataloging committee did.
Oh, thanks.
Um, we made a few changes to the procedures guide. We added information about self-published material, and we are hoping to add more information about cataloging board games just to help catalogers have a little more information on how to do those, maybe a little more niche things. That was basically it, I think, actually. We had a discussion about cover art and a couple changes to the policy and procedures to add some consistency between for language. Um, but I do not have any notes on that, but it was discussed. So that is all I have for the cataloging committee's February meeting.
Awesome. Thank you, Britta. Krista with the e-content.
All right. The e-content committee met on February 4th. And I think most of the things we covered, we've already talked about, except for the database renewals. So basically, we have the three databases: Reference Solutions, Gale, Legal Forms, and Chilton Automotive. The Reference Solutions is up for renewal, and it does cost about $55,000. We did look at statistics, and we also had a presentation previously by a representative from A to Z databases, very similar in look and feel and content. A to Z databases is about $20,000 a year cheaper at $35,000 a year. And the e-content committee recommended canceling Reference Solutions and going with A to Z databases. The Gale and the Chilton aren't up for renewal until later in the year. Courtney, I wrote May here, but I actually think that's when we have to make the decision. The actual renewal isn't until maybe the fall.
Yes, that sounds right.
Yeah. Gale costs about $32,000 a year, and the Chilton Library costs about $35,000 a year. And then Courtney's got the statistics up on the screen as far as the usage. And in particular, the Gale is just not used very much at all. So at the time, the e-content committee, like I said, recommended dropping Reference Solutions and then picking up A to Z. I think we've heard more about upcoming budgets. Now I'm not so sure. I can't speak for the entire committee, but I think that's a decision that the EC ought to make, whether or not we're going to continue with all of these databases, whether we want to drop some or all of them. But like I said, at the time, the recommendation from the e-content was to go to A to Z rather than Reference Solutions.
And we do have that on our agenda under new business.
Yeah.
For the EC to discuss. Anything else for e-content, Krista?
I think that's it. I think we already talked about the Aspen committee has already started to meet. So Oh, I also had a note that you guys were overhauling the evergreenindiana.org website and that you were looking for input, in case that wasn't mentioned.
Yes. Okay, Jess, would you like to give an update for patron services?
Yeah, I think I only have like two big things. The first is that we did update the procedures that if you are an Evergreen library who takes driver's license numbers, um, our lawyer has said that we should not take the full driver's license number because that, coupled with the whole name, is personally identifying information. And if, for example, one of our libraries were breached, and they got the information for all of the Evergreen libraries, your library would be responsible for all of that data because it came through you. So what we've done is changed it to be that each library has to take the state name, so it would be IN and then the last four of the driver's license number. So you can still take a partial, you just can't take the whole thing. So that's been updated in the procedure guide. And then the other thing that we did is that we approved allowing DVDs to renew twice instead of just once because that was asked of us. But I think that is pretty much it, or I guess the big thing.
Thanks, Jess. And then Britta's going to give an update for the Aspen Committee.
Sorry about that. Yes, the new Aspen subcommittee met on February 20th. There are, how many are there? 17, around
Sounds about right.
17 members at this time. Um, some great discussion about our first steps. It was decided to focus at the beginning on like setting up. So we're going to start with our rules of governance and try to start the best practices for libraries when dealing with Aspen from their end and how it may or may not affect other libraries. Since we are a brand new committee, we have decided to meet um, every month. The odd months, we will be meeting as a working group. So that is where the writing of the documentation, the rules of governance, things like that will happen. And then the even months, so normal committee month, we will have our normal committee meetings where we will vote on things for that. And I'm hoping next committee we will have we will vote on a chair um, so they can provide this information to you all. But
Thanks,
that's where we
Britta.
are so far.
And the I have Indiana Digital Library here. It's not a subcommittee of the EC, but it did come up in the bylaws working group that, most Evergreen libraries are a part of the IDL, and it would be good to have an update about what's going on with that consortium. So Inga is joining us today to talk about IDL.
Hello. I just want to clarify, I'm not actually technically on the advisory committee. I was on the collection management team, but they were happy to have me come and deliver an update. So as I go through this, since we're not officially a subcommittee of Evergreen, if you do have any thought, I wasn't 100% sure what perspective you guys were looking for. So do please let me know if there's any other information that you were looking for afterwards. I'd be happy to fill you in. So the advisory committee has begun developing some governance. When beginning a bylaws conversation, they realized there was a lot of confusion about ownership or responsibility for the consortium. So they paused and re-examined the memorandum of understanding to ensure that they kind of had the proper groundwork to develop governance. We currently have a new MOU draft that needs to be reviewed by the full committee, and they're hopeful that additional governance structure will be developed later this year to enhance oversight, transparency, and participation. We are currently in IDL in a short 6-month term. We will begin the next 1-year term on July 1st, 2025, at which point members will receive another invoice, and then they will be 1-year terms going forward after that. That'll align with sort of the state library's budget year. Our expenditures are divided between priority spending and more discretionary spending. Our priorities are to purchase magazine subscriptions, as well as replacement copies for titles that are no longer for sale with holds. This is happening with increasing frequency, and Overdrive has requested that we handle this at the consortial level because receiving requests from 200 plus libraries would be administratively just very complex. So it's much easier for us to kind of look at one title and take care of all of the holds for the whole system rather than going library by library. The rest of our funds are divided between discretionary categories like Notify Me tags, which are titles that patrons want to read but nobody owns, high holds titles, and expired titles with holds. We hope to continue our efforts in enhancing governance and training as the year continues. And as I said before, I'd welcome any comments or feedback that you would like me to deliver to the advisory committee.
Thank you, Inga. Does anybody have any questions or feedback for Inga? Okay. And strategic plan, that's me. Our consultant, Carson Block, is going to be here this week. He will be here Thursday and Friday talking to the stakeholders here at the State Library. He'll be meeting with the Evergreen, Indiana admin team, which is Britta, I, Kristen, and Jeremy, as well as Jake and Stephanie and Jen Clifton and Leanne Johnson. He's meeting with, and Jocelyn Lewis for here, the cataloger here at the State Library. He'll be meeting with the whole group, and then we'll have different breakout groups over the next 2 days. This is for him to find kind of holes in what we haven't addressed with the survey, and then we can start making a plan from there. So that's pretty exciting that he'll be here this week. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so unfinished business and bylaws update.
So bylaws is the big thing here. I did, Stephanie Rollins was not able to come today, but she did have some feedback. So I want to make sure I get that out. She said, I would like to see all of the meetings go virtual. However, I feel like we should have an annual in-person strategic retreat meeting every year before the annual council meeting. This meeting would be to discuss the direction of Evergreen for the next year and be a working type meeting. As we grow, we should consider monthly meetings to handle issues as they come up and not wait for a month to have discussions. Also, a backup plan to ensure our bi-monthly meetings go on as expected should also be put in place to ensure we have a plan when life happens. So I know the big conversation was about virtual meetings, so I feel like we need to talk about that. You guys can weigh in on monthly meetings, and we do probably need to put something in place in case I'm sick or can't make it, what we can do so the meetings can go forward. Stephanie was on the working group for the bylaws with Nick and Winnie. So I guess virtual meetings are going to be the big topic of discussion. So let's start there. What do you guys think? Let me see if I can find that on here too.
Is there a reason that there was a limit on that participation initially? Like, was there some kind of like history to why that limit was there?
I think, Trista, it was because we were considering the opinion of the State Library's legal counsel that we had to comply with open door. I think that's the only reason. I kind of disagree with it, but and I think I think to encourage participation, I know I won't drive more than an hour and a half to go to a meeting. In some of these small libraries, if they only have 3 staff members, they can't lose someone for a half a day to go to a meeting. Mm-hmm. It just seems to me unreasonable to expect people to always be in person or even to try to get a quorum sometimes. So I am allowing for all virtual.
Well, and I think go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I also think that, they were written so long ago too, that you kind of also have to take that into account that, technology, advances quickly. And I think that they were also taking that into account, the amount of technology failures and people's access, especially if they were stuck at home, might not be quite as good. And so I think they were taking that into account as well. I am
So
also for the allowing for the virtual meetings.
we talked about it on the when we met. We discussed how much physical and electronic meeting participation we wanted. If I remember correctly, we ended up where we ended up because it was much more flexible than it had been. But that we still valued, there's two things. We still valued that there's more collaboration and better communication that can happen in person. And two, Courtney is making an effort to schedule meetings around the state so that they're not all in Indianapolis all of the time. And so that should allow, because we also agree that, like, is it fair? So I'm in Garrett. Is it fair that I have to drive to Indy every time we have a meeting? And the answer is no. I'm willing, and I recognize that not all libraries are in that position, which is why there's only 2 in-person meetings required. And with the idea that Courtney, and we could, I suppose, add language in the bylaws that's mandated that those meetings be around the state, because that does facilitate more people coming in person. And we think that there's value in meeting in person versus electronically. I can tell you that as an individual, I don't participate as well virtually as I do in person. Even though it's easier to attend, I'm less attentive, and I find it harder for me to find opportunities to speak. So I guess that's kind of where we ended up. Ultimately, I'm not opposed to doing whatever the group wants. I'm not married to the idea, but we did change it significantly.
It seems to like the and I'm not a lawyer, but it seems like the application of the sunshine laws is a little conservative, legally speaking, to apply to us. And I wonder if instead of just subscribing to it wholly in the bylaws, we could say we will do a 48-hour notice or whatever to sort of comply with the idea of it, but allow for that electronic participation. Because, I think when you look at the sunshine laws, they typically apply to local units of government where there isn't a geographic barrier.
I agree with that, Trista. Again, I want to be as transparent as possible, but on the other hand, I think we're not the same as, my library board or the county council or something like that. And I do get what Nick is saying because I'm sitting here, getting distracted by texts and everything else. That if I were in a meeting with you in a room, I'd probably set my phone aside and ignore it. So I don't know. I think maybe if we could strike a balance between virtual and in person, I said I'm happy with that too. But I really do see the value in allowing people to attend virtually and to be able to conduct our business somehow. And I will, again, I'm one of those people, if it's, in a reasonable driving distance, I'll show up in person. Heck, get me out of this library for an afternoon. It's all good for me.
Same.
I'm just giving, I know I don't have a say in this, but just if we do, I'm wondering if it would be easier to do in person if we had 1 or 2 very specific, like every, I don't know, May and September, we meet in person. That's what we do instead of who can come when, because I feel like what makes it hard to participate is in hybrid, really. It really is hard to participate in hybrid for the people online to interact with the people in person. But if we're all doing the same thing, whether that be in person or um, uh, virtually, maybe that would make it easier. That's my 2 cents. And Jayanne says maybe quarterly in person. And we could schedule that, around, because I know everyone,
Mm.
we are like in the farthest reaches of the state right now with who's on the committee.
Mhm. I think quarterly in my mind, I mean, because typically we only have 6 meetings a year. So if we're meeting quarterly, we're staying 4 out of those 6 meetings are in person. Mm, I don't know. it seems a little tough for some people to make those. Not that I'm not willing to try.
And I mean, can we shoot like, I guess for me, me personally, I think ideally we would, maybe have a couple in-person meetings a year or however, but still allow for full electronic participation for people who can't, because and I'm not really sure what the sunshine laws say exactly and what the bylaws say exactly, but I think like there's certain things electronic participants can't vote on, and they don't count towards the quorum. Is that right?
Yeah, I seem to recall that you have to have a quorum in person according to the sunshine laws. So like for my board, I have to have at least 4 people in the room. Um, and that virtual attendees cannot vote on budget issues.
Yeah.
But again, do we have to comply with sunshine laws? I think we should try to be as transparent as possible. But on the other hand, I don't think anyone could come after us on a legal standpoint saying, hey, you're a government entity who's not complying with the sunshine laws. Again, I'm sure the state legal counsel will disagree with me, but
if I'm reading what we wrote, and that was a while ago, if I'm reading it correctly, under the section it's L, sorry, under section L, it says at least 4 meetings a year, at least 2 of which will be in person or hybrid at a member library. So that leaves already room that they could be, except for 2 of them, they could be all virtual.
okay.
And then in the section N, it doesn't talk anything about a quorum. And so I think it was our intention, unless I'm missing something somewhere, that it doesn't matter how you participate, it was counting towards quorum.
It's at the top where it says that we follow the sunshine laws and puts the Indiana code, right? That's what's limiting us.
Where you're seeing that in the 1C there?
I don't know where it.
Oh.
It was at the. Here, I can find it on.
No.
I feel like we did put in like a code, like the Indiana code or something. That was
like
a long time ago, Nick.
It was.
I know.
Um,
There we go. It's just at the bottom of L. Executive committee meetings will comply with Indiana Code 514-1551. Is that the open door law?
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just get rid of it then.
Yeah.
Maybe we should say that if we get rid of that, maybe we should still say that we're going to record them and make them available live to people who want to listen.
And that we're gonna post a certain, right? Like, we're gonna notify members 48 hours in advance.
Because I think that that's the intention here, right? Is that we're still accessible to our members and to the public. And I don't see. I know it was the opinion of Sylvia Watson that we should comply with the open door law, but I think that was in specifically regard to a specific question, which I don't remember the specific question.
I don't remember what the specific question is, but her reasoning was because you make decisions about the money. Yeah.
But I don't know. I understand she's a lawyer and her job is to be conservative. I don't see that when I pay money, I have to go to a meeting. Hold on. It's not we pay money. There's a regional group of directors who pay money to be a part of a 501c3, and then that 501c3 provides training opportunities to the directors and the staff and whatever. And there's never been any conversation in that group that we're in the same kind of scrutiny because there's member libraries paying dues, right? So I don't see that a 501c3 should be answerable to the same kind of standards as a government agency, even though they receive public money.
Yeah. If you extrapolate that out to the extreme, anyone that my library is paying money to, then what they do with their money
Yeah.
becomes public. So I agree with you, Nick, that my board meeting at my library where they decide to be a part of Evergreen, Indiana and pay the annual membership fee is a public meeting. And then what Evergreen, Indiana does with it beyond that is kind of Evergreen, Indiana's business, but and the members of Evergreen, Indiana.
That being said, I think we should aim to be as transparent as possible.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Okay.
To our
I
member
will be back if
libraries.
you're still here later.
Bye, Nick. Okay, I can make those changes about putting in the meeting being posted 24 hours in advance and recording and making those recordings available and take out the Indiana code.
It's 48 hours, but
Oh, yes. I knew that. So I just want to make sure I understand what everyone is saying. So are we saying 2 in person a year, everything else virtually?
Works for me.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Okay. As far as I don't remember there being any other discussion points with the bylaws, but if there is, now's the time to shout those out that you want to have a discussion with. I do want to bring up Stephanie's meeting every month to see how you guys feel about that.
I'm okay if we plan for one every month. And then if there's not enough on the agenda, it gets canceled. I don't know. It would be nice to have that set meeting, so if there are things that need a fairly quick decision, we could do it. But I'm also up for not having a meeting just to have a meeting. And since our subcommittees are not, for the most part, meeting every month, it's not like we're going to have a lot of data from them coming in. Sorry, that was a real non-answer.
No, I think that was a good answer.
yeah, I'm kind of ambivalent on this one as well. I can see that it's one of those things where I think I've seen a couple of times where it would have been helpful. But at the same time, I think sometimes you make these decisions and then it becomes monthly and it's just every month, even though you don't really need to meet. That's sort of what Krista was saying. So, um, I mean, I think with it being electronic, that makes it a lot easier to go ahead and do it every month for sure.
The other thing is, according to these bylaws, it just says that the executive committee will hold 4 meetings per year, with other meetings scheduled as needed. So if there's a month where, maybe we have a ton of applications to approve or there's something we need to talk about, we could always, as long as there's 48 hours in advance, we could always have a meeting that month as well.
I like that better rather than mandating that we're going to plan on doing this every month. I think we continue with our current schedule, and if we need to schedule another meeting in there, we can do it because the bylaws don't prevent us from doing that.
Okay. And then there are a couple things. I'm apologizing for the fast scroll. Someone did, I'm not sure who did the comment here. Should there also, because the working group requested an up-to-date MOU with the Indiana State Library Foundation. So I'll be working on that. But someone said, should there also be an MOU with the state library dealing with what they provide to Evergreen, Indiana?
That was my comment, by the way.
Okay. Well, we are the state library, so I don't know if
I mean,
MOU
like
is.
to me, it's confusing. Like, and I'm pretty new on the board, so I like it. And I, like I said, I've got some questions on like what happens with the funds and all of that. So like, um, it are we our own thing or no? Like, it's not its own. So we're an arm of the state library.
It's always been described as a premier project of the state library.
So we're a project. Okay, okay. Well, then
And
you can strike that comment because that would make no sense to have an MOU with ourselves.
and as far as the finances, it is confusing. Um, most everything is run through the membership fees, including my salary, but the salary of Britta, Jeremy, and Kristen, as well as server storage, goes through the state library. But yes, it is. It is a weird kind of mesh. Okay, the other thing is a backup plan to ensure the meetings go as expected. So, again, I apologize for being sick last week and not being able to make that drive. But do
How
we
dare
want to
you?
put something? What's that?
I said, how dare you?
I know. I do feel terrible. I do. I know some people made that drive because they didn't get the word out before, and I feel terrible. But just to make sure it doesn't happen again, um, how would we like to proceed? Um, in case it does happen, I guess.
I mean, if the agenda, I mean, you always have the agenda and the minutes up prior to the meeting. I mean, the only difficult thing is someone would have to coordinate the actual Zoom meeting. Um, or we just postpone like we did this time.
I think it would be a little bit easier if it were a hybrid meeting. Um, if I could have something written out, I guess, for the state library update, and someone, more than likely Britta, would start the Zoom,
Mhm.
it could still go forward, I think. I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting anything. I don't think so. So I can, maybe part of the meeting is for me to submit the update in writing at some point. Would that be helpful? I don't know. I don't want to make more work, but I want.
Yeah, I don't want to make more work for you either. Um,
When this question came up with, I think Stephanie, I think she had emailed and was talking about it. And I think she likened it to, if one of us who are directors are sick on a board meeting day, the board meeting doesn't get rescheduled. Somebody either somebody on my staff would take over or, step in to assist the board with running the meeting. So, I mean, I think having a written report from you would ease that. And then, whoever the chair is can take that and continue on with the meeting. I think that was kind of the idea behind that.
I mean, you pretty much have your slides and things already.
Right.
And, you know, if Britta or whomever is just running through the slides, I don't know. Would that be sufficient? And then
Well,
the
I
chair
guess the
just runs
question
the
is,
meeting?
Rita, if I were sick and you had to go through the slides with an explanation, do you feel like that gives you enough, um, I don't know, information that you need to update a state library update for the meeting.
I think I could probably work with it, yes.
So what if we just put in here something about, in the case the director can't make it, someone from the admin team will provide the state library update.
Yeah. Yeah, so as long as we have the Zoom meeting and the chair can run through the agenda, I think that would work.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything else bylaw related we want to have this discussion with? And just a reminder, you don't approve these. These don't get approved by the EC. They get approved by the council. So these will go to the entire membership and they will vote at that meeting on April 9th. Okay, I'm going to take that as no more bylaw discussion. I will make those updates and I will get that out to the membership. Okay.
Okay. New business conference.
Okay, I know I did talk about the conference a little bit, but just a reminder, it's August 15th. I would really like to see EC members submit some proposals or a proposal, maybe even ask the executive committee session if that's something that you're interested in. I think it would be good for membership to see EC out and about and doing those kinds of things. If that's something that you're interested in, please let me know. I will send the link of our proposal form that's closed but not really closed. Also, I will probably need some help that day for things like introducing speakers or manning the registration desk. And I would like to see committee members help with that as they can. So if that's something you're interested in, please email me. I'll get you on a list for that as well. That's it for that.
Okay.
So, okay, the e-content committee recommendation, like Krista said, they recommended to pick up A to Z databases, which is $35,000, drop reference solutions, which was $55,000, but maybe not sure about it now that the budget talk has happened. So I did pull up, this is A to Z's quote, and I know it says it's valid until the end of the year, but he said he would still honor it. So that's what we're looking at there. And then I do want to say, when I called and the EC or e-content doesn't know this because it happened after the meeting. When I called our reference solutions rep to cancel, they did offer a 60% consortium discount for any individual libraries that want to continue the service. So we could offer this through the consortium, much like Wowbrary or I'm trying to think what else we do, RDA Toolkit, things like that. So they would offer the discount. We would pay the big lump sum to reference solutions, and then libraries would reimburse us for that. And she did pull up what that would look like. Let me see if this comes up here. So it is off population served. I don't know if I can make that bigger. I can also share it.
We're not paying for that.
She did want me to say it was going to be a big discount. Normally they give 30%, but she would give 60% to Evergreen Indiana libraries.
Mm.
So that's also an option. So I guess what we need you to vote on is if you would want to pick up A to Z databases or do the reference solutions discount.
This is just my opinion, obviously, but I would be surprised if we went to A to Z if we saw much usage of it. I mean, that would be my fear that, okay, we're just going to switch to another thing and we're going to spend $35,000 for very little usage. To me, I think it would almost make more sense to just do, if Reference Solutions is willing to do the 60%, and if a library finds that to be really valuable, then they could continue for their patrons.
The other side of this too is it wouldn't have to go through us either. I think it would just be easier for them. But they're more than happy to contact libraries individually to ask if they want this. Or we could send an email out with our reps information. So there is that too. I think the thought was with e-content, and Krista, tell me if this isn't the case, but we did a training session with them, and the stats went up here. This is the end of 2024 and then 2025. So they were higher after we did that first kind of training. Now, is it high enough for, what it costs? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think I agree with what Winnie was saying. Just the discount seems like the best way for us
Yeah.
to go.
And just kind of crunching numbers here. Say we did get the exact same usage for A to Z that we're getting for Reference Solutions. That's still almost $4 per use, which doesn't seem like a real great value. Honestly think all of our databases, none of them are performing amazingly for the price we're paying, honestly. So
Okay, so I'll need a motion.
Are we moving to keep Reference Solutions then?
To offer the consortium discount for individual libraries. Yeah.
Okay, yes. So does anybody want to move to offer the consortium discount to member libraries?
I'll make that motion. This is Trista.
Trista with a T makes that motion. Does anyone want to second that?
Krista with a K will second that.
All right, Krista with a K will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
All right. Move on to membership applications.
So like I said, we do have an electronic vote open right now for it. We have to wait until, I think you have to have 2 weeks of voting. So we do have to wait until the 6th, or we could vote now and I could go ahead and contact those libraries. So if we want to go ahead and do that, our first library application is Delphi, which is a Class C library. Their current ILS is Polaris, and they are a member of IDL. Do you want me to do them individually, or would you like to see all of them and then do a motion for all 4?
Do we still have a quorum since Nick left?
Oh, let me double check.
Apologies for interrupting.
No, you're good. We do. Awesome. So did someone say all 4?
Yeah, let's do all 4.
Okay. Our second is Crawfordsville District Public Library, Class B library in West Central, Indiana. Current ILS is Polaris and member of IDL. Our third library is Remington Public Library. They are Class C in Northwest Indiana. They will need to catalog in, and they are a member of IDL. And then Jasper County Public Library, Class B in Northwest Indiana. Current ILS is TLC, and they are a member of the digital IDL. Jasper, Remington, and Brook are all very close together and have reciprocal borrower agreements. So they're all very excited that everybody's going to Evergreen. Just a fun tidbit.
Awesome.
I would like to move that we accept the applications for all 4 of these libraries.
Lori has moved that we accept all 4 applications. Does anyone second?
I'll second. Krista with a K.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we have a motion and a pass to all 4 libraries joining. Yay.
Yay.
Exciting.
Okay.
All right. Anything else other than our announcements?
Is April 15th the Evergreen region or the ILF regional, one of the regional meetings for ILF? Just curious. I just wonder if that will affect very many people.
Let me see if I can pull it up here.
No. It's on a Friday. I just got my dates mixed up, I think.
Okay. So,
Yes.
even though we changed the bylaws to be online, again, those won't be accepted until the meeting on April 9th. So we'll still have to do at least this one. And it is scheduled for Pike County on April 15th.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that.
moved.
Oh.
All right, I have a motion. Anyone second?
It's Krista, I'll second.
Krista with a K seconds. We are adjourned at 3:07.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
And I'm sorry again,
Also,
I had to cancel.
Oh, you're fine.
it happens.